Hello everyone, today we will have two interesting stories. Before we get to that, I want to ask you to subscribe, like, and be sure to write comments in order to participate in the development of the community. Write how to improve my community, current topics and the stories you are interested in, and much more. I read and listened to all the comments. People write me stories by mail from different countries. There are problems with translation. I apologize for this. I will work on it and try to fix these errors. I want to thank everyone for their support and the people who wrote to me by mail. Broadcast news stories. New videos on my channel are published every 2 days at 7 p.m. Don't forget to put a bell in order not to miss new videos. And now let's go. Hello, I want to tell you a story. I am 59 years old. I recently found out that one of my children is not my own. As it turned out, my wife cheated on me with my older brother. It sounds very terrible. My lover's wife told me this. It turned out to be true. It all started a long time ago. I met a girl at the train station. It was raining heavily that day. She was wearing a beautiful white dress. She had beautiful long hair almost to her knees. After a while, the train arrived. I saw her desperately looking for someone, but the man wasn't there. I was really wondering who she was waiting for so much. My curiosity got the better of me. I decided to wait for the end of the story because I was in no hurry myself. After 15 minutes, the train left. I decided to approach this girl. I went up to her and saw the outline of her face and her beautiful eyes. This girl's eyes reminded me of the ocean. Her skin was white. Her lips were painted with red lipstick. I was amazed to what extent the girl was beautiful. The girl was very unhappy. I greeted her and offered to go to a cafe and wait for the train there, because the rain didn't stop. We waited for the train for several hours and talked to her. I never had the courage to ask who this girl was waiting for. When I was around, my brain shut down. I completely forgot about my business. I needed to call a taxi as soon as possible and find the nearest hotel, because I didn't know how to get to the hotel by other means of transport. The train was delayed. The girl began to worry. I couldn't leave the girl at such a moment. When it got dark, I began to despair myself. I didn't see a taxi nearby at all. I had nowhere to go. I started looking for a place to sleep with my eyes. I decided to go to the waiting room and stay there until morning, but I never made it to the waiting room. The girl saw the expression on my face and invited me to her house to spend the night. It was an unusual night for me. I felt very uncomfortable, but I was fascinated by the beauty of this girl. I was very grateful to her for her human understanding. Sudra, I packed up and left, but 3 days passed and I came back. I wanted to thank the girl and her family for their hospitality. Day after day, I started visiting her. I started courting this girl and fell in love with her. A year later, I married this girl. I moved to the city where she lived. I immediately bought a house and we started living together. Time passed. A son was born. After all, we have 5 children, 2 daughters and 3 sons. I didn't have a single thought about cheating on my wife. I loved her very much and treated my wife carefully. My wife did not deny herself anything. My wife was a very good hostess, always clean at home, and she cooked very tasty. The children have grown up. I can't tell them how their mother posture. I don't want them to know about it. One day the day came when I caught my wife cheating. She didn't deny it for a long time and told me everything. My wife has loved only one person all her life. My wife was waiting for him at the train station that very day. As it turned out, the man my wife was waiting for got married. My wife was very upset. So out of desperation, she married me. Then we had children and she decided to live with me for their sake. 3 years later, my wife's lover divorced his wife and returned to his hometown. I remember how my wife introduced me to him. My wife said it was her older brother. Why didn't I know this older brother all the time? I didn't ask, because a few days ago we buried my wife's father. As a result, we started living together and became neighbors. This man settled in the next house. 2 months later, he married a beautiful girl. I could not even think that I had been deceived all this time, that he's not my wife's brother at all. My wife often visited him and even stayed overnight. One day, I was returning from work. This brother's wife was waiting for me on the doorstep. She said we needed to have a serious talk. I invited her to my house and offered her a cup of coffee. She told me everything she knew that day. She said that one day she came home and heard moaning in the bedroom. But she became afraid of losing her husband, so she left and came home 2 hours later when everything stopped. At first, I couldn't believe it all. How come my wife has sex with her brother? Bad thoughts did not leave my head. I immediately did a DNA test. I was shocked. One of the 3 daughters was not mine. I came home, sat down at the table, and stared at the ceiling. I didn't know what to do. My wife came back in a great mood and said she would spend the night with her brother. I thought to make a scandal right away, but decided to see it with my own eyes. I called his brother's wife and told her that my wife would spend the night at their house. I invited her to catch them hot, but she said she didn't need it. She wanted to save her family. Then I asked her for the keys to the back door. She was happy to give them to me, but she told me not to drag her into it. I was sitting at home, drinking wine and waiting for nightfall. I can't put into words what I felt, especially this heavy expectation exasperated me. Eventually, the time came and I went to the house where my wife was. The door to the backyard was unlocked. When I entered the house, it was dark. I didn't turn on the lights so as not to attract attention to myself. I was lighting myself up with my mobile phone. In the pitch darkness, I saw a light in the bedroom, from which came the moans. My legs gave out. I went to the door and quietly peeked through the crack from which the light was pouring. I was shocked. My wife was tied up. It was like 𝐷𝐸. My wife's lover spanked her with a whip. Soon they had sex. I ran into the room. My eyes were bloodshot. My wife and lover looked at me with round eyes. I screamed, "It means big brother." None of them could say a word to me. I did not resort to physical violence. I understood that I could be put in jail. I turned around and left. After 20 minutes, my wife was already at our house. She begged for forgiveness. I showed her the DNA test result. She cried even harder. She started asking me not to tell the children and her parents. To be honest, I didn't even know how to tell the children about what I saw. I asked why she didn't tell me the truth right away. Was she afraid? I would never interfere with her happiness. Maybe a sense of guilt. In general, my wife did not answer this question to me. I never found out why she did this to me. As a result, we got divorced. I told the children that this happens in life. I did not tell the children about the details. Now, I live alone. I think I won't find my soulmate anymore, because I'm not that age anymore. The children are already adults and come to me themselves to spend time. I'll probably take this secret to my grave. But to be honest, it made me feel better. Because I told this story to you and the whole community, I want everyone to draw conclusions and be very careful in their relationships, so that no one will repeat my mistakes. I think we're done here. Before we move on to the author of the channel, we're going to have another short story, so let's go. At the age of 22, I married my beloved girlfriend. We had a very good relationship. We've been married for 10 years. We really wanted children, but we didn't succeed. Now I can say that this is luck. God was on my side. I didn't have any children because of my wife's health condition. My wife had an abortion at the age of 16, which was the main reason. I love my wife. I was young and hot, so I turned a blind eye to the whole situation. But it was necessary to think and make a decision at the very beginning. From the very beginning, it was clear that my wife was very frivolous and would cheat on me. But I loved her very much. Perhaps someone will say that this is her past. You need to live in the present. The funny thing is that I also held this opinion until I found out that all this was repeated not only in my wife's past. My wife's first infidelity occurred when we were finishing our studies. My girlfriend and her friends went to Florida. There they met tourists. I haven't seen my girlfriend in 2 months. Then she returned home without remorse. The second betrayal occurred a year before our wedding. My wife cheated on me with my best friend. At that time, I was working in shifts, saving money for a house. I learned the truth about my wife from her friend. Female friendship does not exist. Yeah, she might think she said something on purpose to annoy my wife. At first I thought so too, but my wife's friend. She not only told me everything, but also showed me photos and correspondence. A little later, she showed me a video from a trip to Florida. I don't know why, but they filmed group sex with these tourists. God, it was like watching a German porn movie. What happened there? I can't describe to you, but you can imagine. I was shocked. In general, a friend handed over my wife with giblets. As for my best friend, there was no direct evidence, but I decided to go all in. I went to his house and told him that I knew everything. My friend immediately began to justify himself. He said my wife initiated the sex herself. In general, I was furious. I punched my friend in the face and trashed his kitchen. I turned around and headed home. I was driving home and already imagined how I would make a scandal to my wife. When I got home, she was smiling as if nothing had happened and started pestering me. I pushed her away and told her I knew everything. My wife's eyes began to fill with tears. She repented and said she only loved me, that it doesn't mean anything. I made a mess of the whole house, packed up and left. A month later, his girlfriend found out that my best friend had sex with my wife. She endured everything very painfully. She called me and invited me to her house. I went up to her to calm her down. The girl swallowed the pills, but she was saved in time. As a result, I divorced my wife. I live with my best friend's girlfriend. She got divorced too. We're trying to get on with our lives. Time has passed and we are very happy together. My best friend left my wife because she is infertile. He tries to beg forgiveness every time. But now my new girlfriend has a relationship with me. That's how karma overtook everyone. My wife also tried to restore our relationship. But who needs her with her problems? She's not suitable for family life. Moreover, she is infertile. That's the whole story. If you liked it, give a thumbs up, rate a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Now let's move on to the opinion of the author of the channel. The opinion of the author of the channel. Before I say a word, I want to wish that both paths find a new life. All this is possible. It is necessary that only time has passed, because time heals. When I read the first story, it all started so romantically. I didn't even think it would end so tragically. I was shocked at how this guy could stand it. If I saw my wife tied to the bed, I would strap this guy next to my wife and beat them both with a belt. I am 103% sure that you made the right choice. For every man, divorce is a new chance. At the very beginning of the relationship, I would not have continued to communicate with her after I found out about her past. But maybe it gave the guy a chance to find a new love. I hope that this couple will succeed. They both deserve each other. If you have watched to the end, I want to say thank you very much. I love you all. Thank you for joining me on this exciting journey of love, betrayal, and redemption. I appreciate your support and encourage you to subscribe, like, and share this story. Your participation and feedback are invaluable for shaping our content and promoting mutual understanding and community growth. Until we meet again.